saying, welcome to the Holden Village podcast. I am your host, Dev, he, him pronouns, and I'm with our lovely guest musicians for week 7 of summer program. How would both of you like to introduce yourselves?
My name is Jenine, and I go by pronouns she, her.
My name is Laron, and I go by he, him pronouns.
Excellent. See, we're laughing already.
Because in my head, I was doing something silly and saying, dang, I should have said I go by pronouns. He.
Well, we're definitely editing the earlier one out. Yeah. Don't worry, you're all covered. And by all means, like spontaneously like breaking into song or singing is totally recommended. So, what are both of your aspirations in coming to the village this week? This is both of your first times, right?
My first time.
Okay.
Yeah, this is my second time actually.
Excellent. Well, I'm curious for you, how is it coming back? And then what are your first impressions?
Yeah, so coming back here was a bit different than the first time. I definitely wasn't used to my cell phone, Wi-Fi going out and reception. So that was really new for me. And so the first thing I asked coming up the mountain here, I said, God, like, what is my purpose here? It just really showed how tied I was to technology. But I'm totally glad to be here again, and I'm more relaxed.
For me, this is my first time coming, so everything is just, I'm in awe and amazement and just like, oh my gosh, look at this. This is so beautiful. And so everything has been very pleasant. People have been very open and definitely engaging in conversation and friendliness.
Perfect. The week is just getting started.
Just started.
Yeah.
Yes. And also to your point, digital detox is real.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's one of our philosophies at the village is like, how can we, maintain that presence with ourselves, with the divinity within us without having to rely on these digital connections that we're so used to in our normal lives.
Yeah.
And I personally got rid of my smartphone before I got here.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So I got a flip phone just to which is useless in this village.
Right,
So
right,
I don't have a phone. I can only use that when I'm, down lake, but I can't express how amazing that's been.
Yeah.
And you learn who your real friends are when who email you,
That's taking it back. That's taking it back.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, especially your older friends.
Yeah.
You know who your older friends
are.
I think the millennials on up, especially later millennials, they're big on texting, and it's just like if we were to only do emails, folks would probably perish.
Yeah, right, totally. Yeah, they just disintegrate.
Exactly.
Into dust.
Yeah.
Be what? Later.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I also want to articulate the surroundings that we're in. We're in one of the Narnia rooms, one of my favorite rooms. We're in childlike chairs right now and piano benches.
That's right.
Just to paint the ambiance for all you listeners out there. This is one of my favorite rooms.
Yeah. Very nostalgic. I'm sitting in a seat that is built for a kindergartner. And it takes me back to the days when my teacher used to sit me in the corner for talking.
Oh, no.
It takes me back. But I feel really childish today, so I'm sitting in the right seat.
Totally. This is going to be a healing experience for
That's
us.
right.
Yeah, that childhood trauma.
Tell me about your childhood.
Yeah, right? Oh, excellent. So music is important to both of you. It is also important to me. I'm curious, what are some of your favorite musical memories, and what is the work that both of you do with music?
Favorite musical memory. I'm going to reach all the way back to kindergarten.
Oh, excellent.
The school was putting on a talent show, and they encouraged everyone from all grade levels to participate. And I remember the teacher going around and saying, there's no one from the kindergarten class that is willing to volunteer. And I said, I'll do it. And I remember getting up and singing a song from our church that the youth sang, "We are the salt of the earth." And I got up boldly and sang that song in front of a gymnasium full of people. And that was one memorable musical moment.
That's fantastic. I don't suppose you remember the chorus you'd like to sing for us right now.
We are the salt of the earth, bright light shining in a very dark world. It's up to us to turn things around. We are the salt of the earth.
Ooh.
Excellent. Yeah, there we go. And so that was the beginning of it all for you, it sounds like. Yeah,
yes,
that was...
absolutely. Absolutely.
Now don't ask me to sing. The podcast will go downhill. It won't be what you expect.
No.
I heard you yesterday. You were great.
Right.
What are you talking about?
That's why I said no.
Yeah. Did you catch that end? I dug that up from the 60s. Old black woman from the 60s.
Oh my God.
We would hear on record.
On record,
So she would use that little line. So, but anyways. Yeah, for me, my childhood memory of music was being a toddler, and my dad had, we had this piano in the living room, and so my dad had a really bad accident when he was really younger. So by the time that I was a toddler, he wasn't suffering, head injuries. He wasn't suffering from those particular head injuries on a daily basis. But whenever I would run to the living room while he was watching television or a movie and start banging on the piano, all of a sudden he has these major issues with pain management in his brain. And so he said, Laron, no, you're hurting my head. Stop playing. So then I learned to do that, to tease him, to bring pain to him.
That's
I was like, oh, okay, it brings him pain. And it's only when I play. So I would run in during the commercials when he was watching television, run in and play something, have him scream and yell, and then I would get off. But those are my earlier memories.
That's fantastic. That's the bit that you had with your dad.
That's right.
Totally.
That's right.
That's
Yep.
one of my favorite sayings is, I bring the harm in harmony. It's like, it's like, when I
brought the
harm
in harmony.
If I'm feeling sassy, it's like,
Feeling
this is
sassy.
true, right?
That's right. That's right.
What are your aspirations in the village for this week?
Definitely spreading African American gospel music. That's the aspiration.
Beautiful.
And podcast every day.
That's right. This is part of a series. Wait, what's this series called?
Number one.
Number one. It's just the number.
I like music therapy.
Music
therapy.
Yeah.
Number one.
Session one.
Session
music
one.
Therapy,
Music
session
therapy. There we go. Yeah. Actually, number one is from a marketing standpoint, very smart. Because, anything that is number one that shows up on Google, we would show up on that.
That makes sense.
So, yeah.
Okay.
You've got some, SEO.
Yeah, there you go.
Skills going on right there.
Don't even know.
But yeah, musical therapy, absolutely.
Yeah.
I want Laron to say what you're bringing to Holden.
What am I bringing to Holden?
What do you bring? Yes.
My body? No, I think just a diverse background, right? Just a diverse background of music in terms of gospel music, right? And kind of my playing, my sound, my flavor, whatever you want to call it, is a mashup of jazz, R&B, some R&B, and traditional gospel playing. And so that is something that I bring because I feel like somewhere in everyone's soul, they want to connect with soul, right? And so gospel, its foundation is from the soul, and it meets you where you are.
Absolutely.
In whatever place that you're coming from, your social location, your spiritual location, wherever you are, it connects, it finds its way to you. So that's what I bring.
All right.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite R&B artist?
Luther.
Luther.
Vandross. Yeah.
Excellent. Do you have one?
Okay, so I absolutely like Tank. I absolutely love an old school Babyface. I was introduced more to Luther through Laron. My dad would listen to him, and I would be like, Dad, listen to Luther. But I do like some of the oldies from Luther. And then I would absolutely have to say, I like Avant.
So you're a reverend at this point?
Minister.
Minister,
Yeah.
okay.
Reverend Doctor.
No.
He said, no. Yes. It's coming.
You heard it here first.
Therapy first? You heard it here first.
Yeah, I am a minister. I've been a minister since 2007.
How do you enjoy combining your music with your ministry work?
For me, my musicianship is ministry, right? So they're one and the same. I guess the perspective that I have on my understanding of worship and music ministry is that worship has been going on before creation was here, right? And so we have just as creation joined into the praise party. I think they call it perichoresis. And so we're joining in with the heavenly host in the triune God in worship. And so any role that I fulfill in ministry is accepting the invitation to worship. And so that is ministry.
That sounds kind of mystical to me, which I am down with. I mean, that's not your mainline, Christian experience, though. So,
right. Well, I think that a lot of current day Christians, the mainline understanding of worship has become convoluted.
Yeah.
Right. There's been so many evolutions and so much change around how people talk and dialogue when it comes to worship. So my perspective on worship comes more so from an earlier church.
How do you worship? Or how do you teach worship?
I absolutely love being a worship leader and leading God's people and having that portion of worship to help with allowing people to have an experience with God.
Excellent. Me growing up in Southeast Asia, their term for what faith meant was more in a meditative context. So it was more like your faith was congruent with your ability to listen in silence.
Wow.
Which I've always held very close to my heart. While there's a lot of really beautiful things that we can do in the world, help healing, activism, stuff like that, if we don't maintain that still center, a lot of times it's all for naught.
And I think we are, especially, I can speak for a lot of Black communities, they are specifically my generation, right, of Black Christian communities, are beginning to exact upon the power and importance of meditation, right? Centering, silence, contemplative forms of worship. And it's very poignant, very, very powerful. And I myself, within the past couple of years, have begun to dig deep into the well of meditation and kind of meeting God in a place of solitude and silence. And so it's something that, as I've learned more about the Christian faith and about how diverse Christianity is and just the roots of it, even in the Black church, right? There's been a strong history of meditation and chanting and welcoming the Holy Spirit in various measures. It just has not been widely discussed, right, in many mainstream platforms and denominations within Christianity, just because of our social position in America. And so it's very fascinating to really sit down and look into the volume of history, especially for Black denominations, and see how, wow, this is what we've been doing all these years, and now it's becoming big and it's becoming famous, and you know, people are saying, well, this is something that's practiced over here, and you're saying with yourself, we've been doing that, you know, for years. So it helps you exactly. So it helps me to really embrace my culture and my heritage even more when it comes to different forms of worship and expressions.
On that topic of the Black church, Black communities, worship communities, are there other things that you feel are misrepresented, or things that you would like to share more with the world, or things that you'd like to see evolve?
I would let Jenine go first. Do you have?
I would love for there to be more of an evolution of kingdom worship, not so much worship of who's up in the pulpit, but true worship toward God and not worship of man.
I think there should be an appreciation for the fact that Black people are not monolithic. We don't all do everything when it comes to worship the same way. And I think our diversity, you know, the order of service done over here may be much different than the way we do order of worship over here. The way that we are expressive, some people are more charismatic, if you will, or spontaneous in worship, very outwardly expressive. Some Black churches are, and then some are not. And so for, you know, every time I walk in the room and people learn that I play the piano, oh, you know, we're sure you have so much soul. Well, I do. I do. I'm not going to deny that. But why assume that when you first see me? You know what I'm saying? And so I think there's much to be said there. Or this notion that people can come and hear us and get a really good sensation and a feeling of warmth and a washing over, and then go back to their churches and their communities without actually coming and making friends. One thing that I wish could be different when it comes to worship between cultures.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right? So let me clarify, when I, saying all that is not just about just Black folks, but also the way that I perceive white folks and other, minorities, the window through which they see us.
Yeah, how do we create a story? Because we're all trying to tell a story, and we're not all going to have the same opinions about
That's
things.
right.
And that goes back to that tension point as well. Like, how can we help maintain the diversity of where everyone's coming from? And thank you for both of you for coming to Holden Village, which has been predominantly a very white community.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot with the new directors. There's been a lot of great emphasis on bringing diversity here, but there still is that component. And so that's just always an ongoing conversation for the village. So very, very excited to having both of you and other people come
Absolutely.
helping.
And it's great to see the progress. It's great to see the foundation upon which Holden is building when it comes to putting truth-telling and really putting the truth out there, right? To say, this is what we're dealing with. This is a mirror of what we kind of look like. And so let's kind of discuss this, right?
Yeah.
How we understand, race, class, gender, sexuality, all of that good stuff. And how do we become more inclusive, right? And so I've noticed how Holden is building upon that, and I do greatly appreciate that.
Which I love their theme, and that incorporates everything.
Oh yes.
Would you like to both speak upon Eden? Eden is calling.
I absolutely love the idea of them bringing it back to incorporating everything that God has created and bringing it to a worship standpoint, and not just saying worship is just in the four walls, but we have a responsibility to connect with what God has given us and to invite Him in those spaces.
Yeah, for me, Eden is this place where, God's attributes, God's nature is so tangible. I think the good thing that from what I understand in my studies biblically, is coming even after Adam and Eve were exiled from Eden, God still made provision for them throughout, Genesis and through Israel's history. Where Eden, or His kingdom, God wanted Eden and His kingdom to be realized in Israel, regardless as to where they went, wherever they sojourned, even when they were in exile, there were instructions to be made of how they would create their tents, how they would create the worship center, right?
Absolutely.
Their worship center to resemble Eden and or the presence of God, if you will. And so the fact that, you know, Eden is always calling us. It's always, its music is always in the background, calling us so that wherever we are, we can experience this Eden place. But it's great to know that this is a hub where Eden is intentional, right? And so we get to kind of create a model of what Eden looks like here so that people can carry a piece of that model wherever they may go. And so that stands out to me when we talk about Eden.
I like that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I have two more questions, and it connects with the theme of Eden and pretty much everything that we've been talking about.
Okay.
But one of the aspects of worship within this community is just the fact that we live in this beautiful place, surrounded by mountains, and so nature is very much a part of that worship and being able to honor that. I'm curious, is that something that you get to do in your own homes, or what are your thoughts? Yeah.
Absolutely, but not to this extent. When we have to get away to a place that's like this, it has to be intentional to do. And of course, you know, there are times when we're outside, or I'll just say I'm outside and I'm walking and I'm looking around, or if I get the opportunity to go to the beach or the opportunity to maybe go to the mountains, we do experience that. But whenever you can't get away, I still always use what is there to find my place of Eden or worship.
Because this is also a bubble. So like we want to be able to like take it with us everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, totally.
Everywhere.
Absolutely. I think for me, just on a very deep spiritual level, especially in this time of my life, being outside, being in nature, it's something that almost kind of opens my mind and opens my spirit up like a flower when it kisses the rays of the sun, and it begins to open. Same way for me, I find peace, serenity, experience trust, and recognize more so my place in nature. I come into closer contact with the divine when I'm in nature. So that is whether or not I'm more so in my hometown. I think even here it's even more so. I don't know. I just feel as though it's so sacred and holy for me being here. Maybe it's just me needing to get away, my needing to see a different place, specifically this one. I would like to experience something like this in my hometown, right? This level of
totally. Well, this has been absolutely delightful for me.
It's been great.
Same here.
Yeah, thanks for blessing the village with your presence and for taking the time to talk with me and the outside community of Holden as well as they listen to this podcast.